Hey, afternoon everybody. Hope you've had a fantastic day so far. Sophie and I are really excited to spend the next 20 minutes speaking to you specifically about everything you need to know about CRM and Agent Desktop. But actually, we're going to use the bulk of the time today to speak about a real-life customer story, which we're really excited to share. So before we get into that, some quick introductions. My name is Jessica Cruess Callagham. I've been working at Salesforce for just coming up to 5 years, and I'm fortunate enough to be managing the relationship between Salesforce and Sky.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Petrou. I've worked at Sky for around 3 years now. I work as a project manager in the Sky Business Delivery team.
Perfect. So before we get into a bit of a Q&A, just to set the scene, I think we'll all agree that we are living in a new world now, where for organizations, it's actually never been more difficult to connect with your customers. And that's for a multitude of different reasons. We're navigating through new channels, reacting to new regulations, operating siloed data, and actually having the realization that customers' expectations have never been higher. So these are all really common challenges that we see across the industry. At Salesforce, as some of you may know, we deal with customers of all sizes, so everything from small to medium businesses up to enterprise, large organizations, cross-industry. But actually, we see a lot of the time the same synergies when it comes to goals that they're looking to achieve and challenges that they see in their industry. So I've picked three themes that we're going to discuss today, and myself and Sophie will discuss them a little bit later when we have our Q&A. But they kind of come down to engage, monetize, and scale. So what do we mean by engage? We want to be able to build a modern digital experience which is personalized and simple. We want to enable our customers to be able to monetize, to be able to create new revenue streams. And ultimately, we want to be able to provide a platform that's scalable and that they're able to create and grow. So with all of that in mind, let's actually dive into a real customer story. So, Sophie, before we get into it, I'm conscious that there's probably a lot of people here that aren't as familiar with Sky Business and who they are. So can you give us a quick overview of who are Sky Business and where do they fall under the Sky umbrella?
Sure, so Sky Business are a B2B team within Sky, so we're responsible for delivering live sports and entertainment across the commercial businesses. So we work in the hospitality industry, so as you can imagine, the COVID sort of period was quite a challenge for a lot of our customers, and that was a key catalyst in terms of us kicking forward with this project to really come back for our customers and be stronger than ever. Perfect.
So I know that you embarked on this journey about 1.5 years ago and went live just in November with the great support of Make Positive. So let's take a step back to 2 years ago. Let's talk about how were you operating before you moved on to Salesforce, and can you talk us through some of the key challenges that you saw specifically across sales, service, and marketing?
Yeah, so I mean, the main overall challenge that we had is that we had several disparate systems with limited to no integration. We had our service team that were using something called RT, which was really just a ticket management system with no real sort of case management functionality. It wasn't integrated with any of our other systems. Our field sales teams were using an in-house created journey planning tool. Again, that had limited integration, and really it was just the field sales guys who had access to the data in there. In our contact centres, from a sales perspective, those guys didn't actually have any sort of system that they were using, so they were using Excel trackers to manage their pipeline. And from a marketing perspective, again, the guys didn't have an in-house marketing tool, so they were doing a lot of their stuff third party. So they would create a brief, and then they would send that out externally for the creative, the testing, and then the deployment of those campaigns. So really, the key challenges that we had were that we had no real sort of 360 view of the customer, and we didn't have any of our data in one place. So not everyone had access to the information required. Getting our campaigns out would take quite a long time because we were doing that externally, and from a sales perspective, we didn't really have visibility of sales funnel because we didn't have that real pipeline management tool. Given that, all of those facts, collaboration across the teams was challenging.
Gotcha, yeah. So what I'm hearing is a lot of siloed systems between all of these different teams, which was enabling not to operate effectively. So talking about where you're at now, I know you went live in November, congratulations. So can you talk us through what's life like at Sky Business now that you've moved on to Salesforce with the support of Make Positive, and can you talk us through the benefits really that you've seen across those three teams, sales, service, and marketing?
Yeah, so lots of different benefits, but some key ones that jump out. So we've now got enhanced visibility across all of the teams. Collaboration has never been better. We've got a lot of teams that work with each other closely, and previously it was challenging with no sight of the different systems for those teams to collaborate effectively. One key example of an improvement is that our contact centre now have a much better relationship with our field sales team. They do work quite closely. Sometimes if our contact centre sales guys are trying to outbound a prospect, if they can't get hold of them, they will sometimes call upon our field sales team to actually go out and try and get in touch with the prospect that way and follow up on that opportunity. Previously, because they were working in completely different ways, they wouldn't have any sight of what had happened when they had handed over or what happened before they had received the job. So now with everything held in Salesforce, they've just really got visibility of every interaction with the customer and a much more joint up process. And that's the same across all of the different teams. We've got several systems which have now been condensed. So 4 of the systems that we were using are now within one with Salesforce. So that saved us a lot of cost, time and resource. And a lot of our processes now are a lot more automated and simple. So again, that saved us a lot of time and sort of resource-wise. From a marketing perspective specifically, our time to market has gone from, it could have been anything from 3 weeks to longer because we were going that sort of third-party route. Now it can be, if we wanted it to, we could probably get something done in a couple of days because everything is in-house, from the creative to the testing to the deployment. So that has just been a huge change for our marketing team. And from a reporting perspective, across sales and service, reporting that would usually take hours to collate, we've now just got live in a dashboard available in Salesforce. So that's just been really great for our managers and our teams.
Brilliant. Love that. So I think when we speak with a lot of customers, making a transformation like this to a new platform can be quite a daunting experience. And, they might say we don't have the resource internally. So can you talk us through how you actually went about implementing Salesforce with Make Positive, and what's the plan going forward to actually manage the platform?
Yeah, so Make Positive were brought in fairly early on as a recommended partner from Salesforce, and they were also working with other teams within Sky, so we built a good relationship with them fairly quickly. In terms of the delivery approach with them, so we kicked that off with a series of discovery workshops. So Make Positive came in, they sat down with our people, they listened to how we work, what our customers want and what we need out of this solution. Once we had done that, we worked with them to pull together customer journeys and really work through our requirements and put together a bit of a plan in terms of delivery. So we did that iteratively. And we did several sort of sprint planning workshops, followed by several sprints to get us to the point where we had delivered our minimum viable product. After that, when we got to the point, or closer to the point when we were about to launch, Make Positive also helped us in terms of training. So they use what they call train the trainer type approach. So Make Positive came in and trained our L&D team, and then our L&D team rolled that out across the business. So that worked really well. They've also been helping us in terms of moving over to a new managed service product. So they're available to support us now if we need any help with sort of incident management, or if there are any enhancements that we want to make moving forwards. But also, alongside that, we have recruited a CRM manager within our team who can work on smaller sort of config changes easily. And we've also been working to upskill our technical teams internally, which Make Positive had also helped with.
Brilliant. It sounds like you've got the best of both worlds there. Really, really good mate.
Yeah.
So hindsight's a great thing. Looking back, over the journey that you've had with Salesforce and Make Positive so far, were there any challenges along the way? And if so, what were the lessons learned?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, with a program of this size, there were a lot of challenges, a lot of bumps along the way, but some ones that initially popped to mind. So at the beginning of the project, it's just the different ways of working. So there were lots of teams and individuals involved with this, so not just the Sky Business Delivery team, but also another internal tech department with Sky that was supporting us, alongside Make Positive as the integrator. So as you can imagine, all three teams had completely different ways of working, and that was an initial challenge, but Make Positive were great at being really flexible and working with us, and coming towards a sort of shared model that worked for everyone. So that was an initial challenge that we got over in the end. Another challenge that comes to mind is integrations with some of the legacy systems that we were retaining alongside Salesforce. The usual sort of tech challenges, you know, nothing works first time. But again, Make Positive were great at really coming in and giving us their expertise to try and help us get over those hurdles. And lastly, as with any sort of change that you introduce, adoption was a key challenge, especially with a change of this size. So just really getting all of the users on board with new systems, new processes, you know, new ways of working. It was a really big change. And we tried to overcome that internally by really staying in touch with the users. We've held several workshops where we've gone out to our contact centres up in Scotland and in Stockport, sat with the guys and said, you know, just be honest, what's working, what's not. And we've been doing that regularly since November, and introducing a number of enhancements on the back of those feedback sessions. We've also been sending out surveys to the guys to see how they're getting on.
Brilliant. And I think we talked about this before, but in terms of your approach, can you talk us through the kind of MVP approach that you did?
Yeah, and I think that comes back to your point that you said actually around sort of lessons learned. So there's a couple of lessons learned. So the first one ties into that MVP approach. So the first lessons learned or recommendation that I would give is just to keep things simple initially, focus on getting the minimum viable product delivered, and there's always room to grow with Salesforce. Don't try and do everything at once. Get in your minimum viable product and then build from there. And then the second sort of lesson learnt that I would say is just to really keep the user at the heart of everything that you do. When a project goes on for this long and there's so much going on, it's easy to lose sight of that sometimes. But if you keep going back to the user, you know, it will keep you focused in the right direction and will ultimately make adoption easier later on.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds like a really fantastic journey so far. We all want to know what's next for Sky Business.
So we're now looking at leveraging Experience Cloud. So this enables us to provide our partners and suppliers access to Service Cloud, so our sort of case management piece. So we can work with our partners on that, keep track of sort of SLAs, updates, and all that sort of stuff through case management with them.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for listening to us. We're here for the rest of the day, so please feel free to come up and ask any questions. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, guys.